Hey there, Eric Gall here. In this video, I'm going to answer what is probably your number one question when it comes to your loved one with a developmental disability, and that is who will be there for them when you can't be, right? And what is the answer to that question? Well, you probably maybe already intuitively know the answer to this question, but it's other people, right? When we can't be there or you can't be there for your loved one as a caregiver, as a parent, as a family member, other people will need to be there for your loved one to support them in companionship, in decision making, in support, in maybe areas of their life where they need some support in all areas as humans. All areas of our life we really want to be connected, right? So we need to think about how can we be intentional about relationships with our loved one, right? How can we be intentional? So in this video, I want to talk about a couple of ways that we can be intentional, but really one, I'll give you one kind of big key way that we can be intentional about relationships. So that is, you might have heard of this before. You might have heard of a personal support network, or you might have heard of a circle of support, or a microboard, or a self-directed support organization, or a circle of friends. You might have heard of one of these things. And I group all of them into what I would call a personal support network, right? And that's just really being intentional about relationships and having people intentionally around our loved one, in relationship with them, in loving, trusting relationship with our loved one. Okay, so I mentioned a bunch of different types of support, personal support networks, right? I talked about a support circle, I talked about a micro board, a circle of friends. Those are just kind of the amount of intention or the amount of formality around the personal support network. So in this video, I'm not going to get into too much detail about each one of those because they're nuanced and there can be differences between them. But I just want to talk about more about the general idea of a personal support network, right? And the reality is that we all have one. For most people, it's informal, right? So you have one, I have one. When I think about my personal support network, right, it's my parents. Who else is in there? These are like it's your close relationships or your intimate relationships. So my sister, my partner, a couple of best friends, a couple of mentors, right? Those would probably be people those are people in my personal support network. So you can probably think about yours, right? And who is in your personal support network. Now, when you think about yours and when I think about mine, it might be 5 people, or it might be 8 people, or it might be 10 people, it might be 15 people. Those people that are kind of really close to us, people that would pick up the phone when we want to bounce an idea off somebody, or we want some advice, right? Those are the sorts of people, or people who are in like loving, intimate relationships with. For people with a developmental disability, when we're thinking about their personal support network, right? The number of people that's kind of naturally in their personal support network is often lower, right? So it might, when you think about it for your loved one, it might be 3 people or 2 people or 5 people, right? And we want to really intentionally think about building that up. How can we increase the number of people or social capital in our loved one's life, in that personal support network? That's why we need to be intentional about it, right? Because we're trying to answer this big question, going back to how I started this video, of who will be there for your loved one when you can't be, right? And not one person is going to replace you. Not one person is going to replace you. You wear so many hats, you do so many different things, right? It's going to take a team of people around your loved one. So we're thinking about this team of people, and we don't need them to be doing what you do right now, but we need to foster that, and we need to be intentional over time. And this is the idea around having a personal support network, being really intentional about it, and evolving it over time. And the hardest thing about this idea of a personal support network, right? And again, there's different types. I mentioned support circle, circle of friends, which is really the same thing. There's different formalities within that. A self-directed support organization or a micro board. There might be different types that I'm leaving out. But the hardest thing about it is inviting people in, right? Because we have to get over our fear of rejection, and we might have some trauma around it. So I get it that it's hard to do it, but I've guided and worked and coached with several families that have done it. My family's moved through it and done it as well to support my sister to build her personal support network. So you can do it. And I wanted to shoot this video to help you understand a little bit more what it looks like, and to maybe just plant the seed and maybe give the comfort of knowing that there is this tool, there is this strategy, there is a way for your loved one to intentionally have other people around them for a time when you cannot be. All right, so I talk more about this in the life plan workshop that's coming up, so keep an eye out for that, and I go really deep into it in the life plan coaching program, which I'll be talking about in a couple weeks here. So I'd love it if you scroll down and left me a comment. Let me know what was helpful in this video for you. And I'm Eric Gall. Together, let's take a small step forward.